Okay, time to call the July meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Okay. Meeting agenda, I'll just let it back up. Did we comply with the open meetings law?
Yes, we did.
Okay, then the meeting agenda. Dawn, you're going to have to leave us in a little bit, is that right?
Yes, at like 5 to 9, sir.
Okay, then I'd like to move agenda item number 11, which requires a vote, up under right after after the minute, if that's okay with everybody. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Is there a motion to second to move that?
I'll second
I'll
it.
move.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. If everybody's okay with the minutes of the June meeting, I'd like a motion to approve those minutes. Okay, motion.
I'll move to approve.
All right, Troy, do you want a second?
Sure.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carried. Okay, now we're going to talk about the resolution for the 2021 Airport Improvement Project.
Yep. If he needs to come in,
Could we please have public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, Linda.
you got to put your mask up. Are you sick? Have you been sick in the following last 14 days? Fevers, cough, shortness of breath, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, headache, body aches, vomiting, and or diarrhea, severe fatigue. Have you been exposed to anybody with COVID in the last 14 days or less? Have you traveled up?
All right. All right, public comments. Anybody any member of the public have a comment on something that's not on the agenda?
Good morning, Mr. Paulson. Rather than try to be recognized later when you get to the accounts receivable exhibit, I just would like to offer up a suggestion that it may be more helpful to have an aged accounts receivable balance to show the amounts that are 30, 60, 90, 120 days, a year or more, some categories, so you have an idea of what's collectible or what might not be collectible. Thank you, that's all.
All right, so noted. Okay, now can we do the airport resolution? Who wants to walk us through that?
Yeah. So the airport is planning a project, a taxi lane and apron project next summer sometime at the tune of something over $1 million. Public Works Committee has reviewed this. I believe they're in agreement and approved that it should go forward. There's a funding component to it. It's 95% state and federal funded, but the county does have a 5% commitment they need to make. And I believe I don't know if it's the Bureau of Aeronautics at the DOT of Wisconsin or the feds, but they do want commitment from the county now to go forward with the project. So this resolution is agreeing to make the commitment and designate the funding needed for the project. We'll include it in the 2021 budget and it'll be approved then, but they want a commitment now so they can plan to go forward with the project.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, a motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. I guess I have a question. What's in it for us? Do we get our money back? Do we get a payback?
Keeps the airport operating smoothly.
Hmm?
It keeps the airport operating smoothly. The airport's a vital source of the Sawyer County.
Okay, so there's no direct payback. We're not going to increase fees or anything like that. It's just the general goodwill.
Well, it's required maintenance, as we take money from the feds to operate the airport or for the infrastructure for the airport. there is certain upkeep that needs to be done. There's a major project with the runway restoration that'll be coming in a few years as well, and that'll be similar to this in the sense that we pay a small share of that locally,
Right.
and a lot of it is picked up by feds.
So it's just a cost of running and owning the airport.
Correct.
All right, any more discussion? Yes.
Dawn has her hand up.
Dawn, do you have a discussion? You're trying to get,
Ask her again.
huh?
My hand was probably raised from before.
Okay, sorry.
I'll lower it.
Do you have any, okay, no discussion on the airport improvement resolution then?
Can I just make, I think it's, the numbers on here are just estimates at this time. They're subject to change a little bit.
I mean, should that be noted anywhere, or is that, we're okay with that as is?
It should probably be noted in the motion that as an estimate.
Okay,
That
All right.
way it's covered later.
okay. All right, so your motion is, it's an estimate to be refined later. Okay. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Motion carried. Okay, then we can go back to the item number 7 on the agenda. Mike, is that you?
Yeah, item A, we can look at. Item B, we should probably look at under number 10.
All right.
So, we're doing some account tracking because of the COVID, the slowdown in the economy and the effect on some of our revenue accounts. So far, we're probably holding a little better than we anticipated, especially with sales tax. However, it's, sales tax is a little bit delayed, the timing of it. So we'll see now coming into the summer months what the impact really is. County probably collects most of their sales tax in the second half of the year, so we'll see what happens there. There's been some talk among counties about the timber proceeds and how it's going to impact their budgets by year end. Some are anticipating a 30% reduction, some are saying 10%. I think Tom and maybe Bruce both have had some discussions with Greg, and I think we're still holding that we think we're going to make our budget for timber. Is that kind of what Greg is saying?
Yeah, it kind of depends not only on COVID, but the Verso plant closings may affect the markets as well. So keeping an eye on both of those things may affect revenue in that area.
Can't help but think it's got to affect it because if no pulp's going to be done, they're not going to move bolts.
Yeah, it's hardwood pulp, and Greg says about 10% of our cut goes to those mills. So, he's thinking the other counties that send more wood to Verso are probably going to send it to other mills, and that may impact our revenue.
Guess we won't know until we get there. But
We won't know until we get
Right,
there.
that's the name of the game. I also included down at the bottom, we're not going to any trainings anymore, so I just included all of our travel and meal costs, what we budgeted and where we at year to date. And as expected, what we spent so far is down compared to a year ago.
All right.
Ambulance fees are down a little bit. Somewhere at this point, somewhere around 50,000. But we did get some CARES money, about 50,000. So right now, that's kind of, it'd be nice to see those collections come back. Fees.
how did may I ask, how'd that turn out with LCO? Are we getting any money from them for ambulance runs?
For what?
From LCO for the ambulance runs, are we getting any money from them? As in, if runs weren't being paid for, I thought they had some kind of pot of money that they'd be paying some from. At least that's the way I understood it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that we don't utilize that as much as we maybe thought. I mean, it's being used as much as it can be, I think. Or it's-
King of last resort is, Indian Health. So it runs through everything else, and then there's a system of that goes to them or identified as a tribal member, and then that gets reimbursed by Indian Health.
And it's my understanding from Nate that it's working fine.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments you want to make on this?
No, not unless you got questions or there's other items you'd like to see pulled into this.
So is it too soon to tell? Is that a fair estimate or?
I think it's a little too soon yet. We do have from Forward Analytics, the sales tax analysis that we can talk about. It does shows the reductions we've seen so far early on and where we might be going looking forward.
You want to talk about that now?
Well, it's up to you. That would be item,
No, it's 7B, isn't it?
well, yeah, it's under number 10 on the agenda.
Is it? Okay,
That was-
sorry.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Why don't we just wait then and do it then? Okay. Any more on COVID-19 update? Anybody have any questions about COVID-19 update?
Nope.
Just a couple of comments from me. We do talk with the other Northern County administrators and coordinators at least once a week. And a lot of that discussion is about, the COVID response and the money coming in and how we're tracking it and how it gets allocated. So, between the counties, I think we're all kind of looking at the same things and having good conversations about how we're handling not only the situation, but the reimbursements and how the money is being spent. There's all kinds of pots of money out there and to kind of allocate our COVID expenses to the right bucket so that we can maximize our return is what we're doing now. And I think we're meeting with Julia. It was supposed to be this week. I don't think we set something up yet time-wise. Julia from Public Health to go over their pots of money and our pots of money and kind of get those straightened out. There's also a fourth package, stimulus package being talked about at the federal level, which may contain stuff on the revenue side or allow us to recapture some stuff if we lost forestry revenue or sales tax revenue, but that's still in the talking stage, not official yet.
Okay. Any more comments then on item number 7? Okay, item 8, cash flow projections. Do we have anything on cash flow? I thought, did I understand correctly that an outside agency was going to help or actually do the cash flow projections?
Yeah, we did receive a template of information that we need to populate, and then they've got a system of analyzing cash flow to help us not only look at, it'll be useful as we look at debt and our cash needs and that sort of thing. So it's a project that's not complete yet, but we should have something for sure by next month.
Oh, yeah, I think we should be able to transmit information to them in the next few days.
Okay.
It's really, they just want a little bit of history and then it's just kind of what percent do you think you're going to collect, and it's based off of estimates.
All right, so we'll have something next month or?
Yeah, for sure. I think we can probably send something out before then.
Okay, good.
But it should help strengthen the case too on why the budget looks the way it does and the need for the budget that we're going to be putting forward. So it'll be another tool that we'll use to explain our situation.
Okay. Any more questions on the cash flow projections?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, the budget, 2021 budget update, is that Mike or Tom?
It doesn't matter. I can start. So we're in the middle of the budget process with the departments. I've got a few budgets in, not so many yet, but looking to get them back by the end of the month. So we can pull it together and see what our deficit is going to be going forward, at least for 2021. We did get notice, WRS, the retirement rates are basically going to stay the same as they are this year. Slight increase on the law enforcement side, but basically the same. I think next month for the finance committee, we can show where we're at compared to what we're allowed and start talking about future planning as far as meeting budgets and looking at debt and those kinds of things.
So the assumptions in the 2021 budget or the instructions to the departments were, are we doing a 1.5% salary increase?
Well, that's to be determined. We haven't, I think we usually wait to see where we are overall before we make that call.
All right. And then are we assuming 8% on the health insurance, 8% increase?
Yes, that's what's built in.
Okay. Any other built-in assumptions?
Workers' comp, we never know what that's going to do until fall, so that's budgeted the same. You know, there's a lots of assumptions. Human services, they never know what their state and federal funding is going to be until late, so those are assumptions.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's it on the budget update. Tom, do you have anything?
No, we'll be setting up appointments with the departments as we receive their budgets through July here. We'll start with some of the easier ones. We did get Health and Human Service preliminary budget and reviewed that at Health and Human Service Committee on Tuesday evening. Of course, the big concern there is the out-of-county placements and the amount of county responsibility and funding it takes to do that activity. That's a major concern. Their budget otherwise was okay, but we need to fill that gap. So that'll be one point of discussion as we move forward, and we'll see the other, if there's any other major things to think about as we receive other budgets.
Yes.
Regarding the budgets, can you tell us how many employees were down compared to last year, as in they have not filled positions?
We've,
Or by department or something?
yeah, I mean, if they're authorized positions, you know, we take a look at that if they become empty. We're holding a couple of them empty right now. Highway has got one, at least one. I think they're filling one. You know, Sheriff has one or two openings right now. So, and of course, the CJCC coordinator position is empty. Dick Welsh's position empty. So, where we can, we'll hold those open pending what we're going to look at for the budget. So, Health and Human Services and their budget, I think, proposed eliminating 2 positions. So those are the only true reductions we've seen so far. And we anticipate probably, you know, the other positions remaining as they are, but we'll see as budgets roll in. But there are positions that are open, and there are positions that are being posted right now as well. Rose will give an update on that in admin later today. I don't have the numbers.
Okay, any more questions on the, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At our last county board meeting, Bruce, we unanimously passed a motion that we would borrow funds to balance our 2021 budget.
Mm-hmm.
What was that amount we were looking at? I know we didn't specifically say an amount, but was it $1.5 million?
We were tentatively just saying $1.5 million, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Are we still in that ballpark, or?
Well, I think we need to wait and see how the budgets come in and where we fare, and we can look at making a little better determination of what the amount is.
Right.
That was just an estimate at that time.
So we're still going to be very strict though as we look at the budget projections as they come in.
Mhm.
And we're not just banking on this extra $1.5 million now that we passed that. We're still going to be very
Correct.
diligent. right? If there's no waste, that we're really lean and,
Correct. Like, I don't know if you were here yet or not, but
No,
like Tom
maybe
said,
not.
we meet with all the departments, we go through their budgets. Um,
So the discipline is the same as last year and the prior years.
Yeah.
Okay,
good, thank you.
okay, good. Any more discussion on the 2021 budget? Or is it okay to move on to the sales tax revenue analysis? Hearing
Sounds
nothing.
good.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
This is something that came from Forward Analytics.
They're a subset of Wisconsin Counties Association, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Just looking at the first page, it should be in your packet, the executive summary. They're saying for March and April, sales tax overall in the state, down about 10, 11%.
I don't have it in my
You
packet.
didn't get that in the packets?
No.
No, well, I apologize for that. I think for today, I can just summarize this quickly. It's, so statewide, they're saying sales tax for March and April is, collections are down 10 to 11%. Some counties down more than that. Some counties actually were up. There is, that's by industry. So Sawyer County, they're saying for that period was down about 1%. Some of our surrounding counties, Washburn was down 3%. Ashland was up 2%. Bayfield down 6%. Burnett up 7%. So there's some variation. I wonder with Sawyer County, you know, the online sales tax is kind of ramping up. I think we're seeing some benefit from that actually, because you know the industry sales tax collections are certainly down, but I think we rebounded there. And they do note in this study that online sales have gone up substantially since the COVID outbreak. I'll send this out. It does kind of get into industry specific, you know, the auto industry, the clothing, the food, the retail, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of interesting to see how the impact is on the different industries.
Okay. Is that it on sales tax revenue?
Yeah, Tom, unless you got more you want to add.
No, we regularly get that now from Forward Analytics. And the DOR website also has some good information too, kind of by categories and whatnot. So both those resources are what we use to kind of keep an eye on sales tax.
One of the things I found interesting, a couple things actually, says residents appear to have flocked to building materials and garden supply stores where sales rose 16%. So
Yeah.
they're saying when people are home, they're doing projects.
Right.
Yeah.
And related to that, real estate transactions are high.
That's true.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Jay said at Land and Water that,
Mhm.
I mean, he's busier than he's ever been. He
Yeah.
thought he was going to have an easy time with COVID. He said, no, he's got 20, 30 land use applications on his desk. So that's a confirmation of what you just said.
Yeah, and then one other point I just wanted to, it says there was also an urban versus rural component to the changes. As a group, metropolitan counties experienced a 12% drop, now this is sales tax collections, while rural counties saw taxable sales fall 6.5%. So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so then we've already done 11, so number 12 is acquiring a financial
Paulson?
advisor. Yes, go ahead, sorry.
I'm gonna have to dismiss myself. Everybody have a good day.
All right, thank you, thanks for attending.
Thank you.
Okay, we still have a quorum, correct, with Troy? Okay, perfect. All right,
Okay.
thank you. Financial advisors, where are we on that?
I'm actually meeting with one this afternoon, just a preliminary discussion about what they can provide and that sort of thing. So there's a couple of 3 firms that usually operate in Wisconsin, and we'll be talking with each one of those and then coming up with a solution for our needs.
Okay. Now, if I remember right, Mike, I think you said that to issue a bond debt, the resolution is reasonably complex.
Mhm.
It is, it's true, okay.
Yeah, there's certain items that need to be addressed.
And then the financial advisor is the one that really would help us draft and craft that resolution.
Correct.
Okay. Well,
Through bond counsel probably, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking is if we do the second large courtroom, when we approve the second large courtroom, why don't we approve the borrowing at that time? So rather than just approve building, going ahead with the second large courtroom, and then sometime later, hopefully we approve the debt, why don't we just do it together?
I think it will be done together. I think the resolution will be built that way.
The,
So when you pass, I believe when you're approving going forward with the project, you're also approving the debt, I believe at that time.
okay, so that then locks us in. Is that, do you have a question, Mr.?
I do. Well, my thought was if the county board approves to go forward with one of the options or the option, then my thought was that we'd refer it back to finance to come to us with the funding and the resolution. But it doesn't have to be. That's just the way I was thinking.
Yeah,
Can we do that all together? Doesn't finance need some time to
I
put
don't,
that together?
I mean, personally, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
you know, the resolution probably wouldn't be specific, but we could say something, we will issue debt up to 6 million, no more than 6 million, at an interest rate of no more than 2.5% or something like that. And then as we move forward with the project, we can refine the amount of bonds that we issue. And that's the way I would see it.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a
Yes.
process.
I just had a question. So we're talking about doing the bond issuance for the 1.5 million and potentially the second large courtroom. Is it gonna be problematic because there's 2 different time frames within that resolution, or can that all be included?
Well, Troy, this is Bruce. My thinking is we've really got 2 separate issues. We've got the issuing of the bonds for the second large courtroom, and those bonds would probably have a life or maturity of 20 years with some debt service, you know, in the interim. And then to fund the budget deficit, it would be a short-term borrowing is about
Right.
60 days.
Yeah, I don't know if those could be combined into one resolution. They might have to be 2.
I don't think we want 2 separate.
Yeah, that would be my thinking too. Did you hear Mr. Kinsley, Troy?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Okay, yeah, I think he was saying, and I agree, that we probably want 2 separate resolutions, one for the short-term borrowing, and then one to issue the long-term debt bonds.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right, so, yes,
One more thing to consider. Tom, didn't you say recently that Mr. Kane and the construction company would take a harder look at this once we approve that option and the county board is comfortable to go forward with one of these latest options? Then they're gonna take a harder look and come with a tighter number, correct?
Well,
Didn't I hear
yeah,
that?
I mean, these are estimates at this point that we're looking at the options just to give you some comfort level of the range of prices that we're looking at in each of these options. Once, or if the county board elects to build the courtroom and selects the plan, then, then we get into actually what it is going to look like. We've got rooms placed here and there. Are those the right way to do it? So there'll be another whole process of analyzing what actually is going to go into that addition if we get that far. And then obviously, just like we do with the budget, is try and pare that down cost-wise to still meet the requirements of a courtroom and what it entails, but not, extravagantly so. So, we'll still be conservative in the building of that. But yeah, so we'll take a look at that when we get to that step.
So there was discussion last evening at Public Works that they're the committee of jurisdiction on the building and maintenance and things like that. So they would want to look at this closer too once we decide on which option. Bruce, so.
Right, no, I
Like
agree.
Tom just mentioned, what offices go where, and Carol even brought up, wouldn't it be nice to have a county boardroom somewhere in there?
Yeah.
In that big addition. So there's a lot of smaller things we have to work out once we decide to go with one of those options.
Right. But I mean, I still think we should probably get the bonding resolution at the same time as the second courtroom. Do we need to have all of the traditional stuff in that resolution that we do for any bonding resolution? Or can we do a general resolution to be followed by the specific?
I think there will be some preliminary resolutions passed by the board to in general go forward with the project, at what level, but then at some point there will come up a final resolution where you're giving final approval to go forward with the project and the bonding. That's probably going to be closer to when you actually do the project, not this far out. We're still more than a year out from even starting the project.
Right. Okay, so, I mean, my concern obviously has always been that we spend money on the second large courtroom and then we don't have the 3/4 vote to issue the bond. So there's some way to tie the two together is really what I'm.
When we obtain a financial advisor, they'll lay all that out for you.
Right, so, but then that tells me the sooner we get a financial advisor, the better. Okay. All right, any more questions on, I guess, the financial advisor? But let me back up. So when we come forward with the resolution we want to go ahead with option X, there'll also be included in the same resolution or a companion resolution about the borrowing and the debt.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right.
I am,
Update on accounts receivable. Mike, this is you again.
Yeah, so at this point, I've provided you balances that I have most recent for. Basically tracking the ambulance. We get monthly billing from the ambulance company every year. We have the balance receivable, we have aged accounts receivable, we have by vendor, I don't know that we have a client per se, but the different insurance companies that owe us money. We get this every month. This, again, the ambulance, that receivable is gross receivable. What's been billed, that does not reflect what we're going to actually collect.
You want to let Troy know what the new numbers are.
Yep. So, Troy, I put a handout today. The clerk of court, I didn't have a number initially. I do have an updated number now. The county share of the outstanding receivables for the clerk of court is $3,017,000 as of June 30.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. And I'm working with Marge. They have all three of these have separate financial systems or software that they use for their internal billings of this stuff. Marge is looking at different reports she can print, and an aged accounts receivable is one of the reports she's looking for. Also looking at changing how we report this so you can kind of see, what the beginning balance was, what's been collected, what receivables have been added, and what the ending balance is. Just haven't had time to quite do that, but like I said, I am working with Marge now to see what we can do to get some of that. Because we recognize, we've added staff in that department to specifically work on these outstanding receivables. So we want to be able to track what we collected due to that.
Yeah, on Health and Human Services, do they have a system? Do they have an age system or anything to track?
I haven't talked specifically with them. I intend to, I just haven't got to them yet.
Why wouldn't we put, I mean, ambulance is a unique animal, but the clerk of courts and Health and Human Services, why wouldn't we put them on the same receivable system?
They've got different
Well-
reporting requirements. Clerk of court uses the state system, so that's on a state computerized system.
Okay,
And Health and Human Services, has their reporting,
right.
Medicare and Medicaid, so there's different requirements in each of those areas.
So it more than doesn't make sense. You probably have by law statutes have to use the various systems.
Right, and the ambulance billing is, an outside contractor, so it's definitely 3 different systems in those 3 different areas.
Are we comfortable with the ambulance billing process, the third party? Are we getting as much of a collection as we can, do we think?
Well, that's always a concern, I think. That's an area that we need to keep an eye on because being an outside agency and what they do is, we found some errors in the past and some things that we needed to clean up, and that's a concern, yes.
Any thought ever to going back to doing our own billing? Or
we contemplated that pretty heavily at the end of last year when we, encountered some issues that we cleaned up with the ambulance company. There are other companies out there that do it too, and we've looked at those. But right now, we're continuing on with this one. But yeah, that's a concern.
can we hire somebody to, in a cooperation, partnership, let's say with Russ County, and have that one person do the ambulance billing for both counties? I don't know, it's just a question.
I mean, there's pros and cons to both scenarios. I mean, if you're relying on one person and that person would leave,
Yeah, we've been there, done that, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What do we, on average, collect on the bill for ambulance? Is it close to 50%, 30%?
I wouldn't say it's 50%. I would say it's probably just a guess 40%, 35%, 36%.
All right, and if I understand right, every dollar we collect goes right into revenue?
Correct. I'm not making any projections on what we're going to receive and having allowance for doubtful accounts and all that stuff.
Right,
We're not
so-
doing that. It's just based on collections.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, I do keep collections open through the end of February.
Right. So if we collected $100,000 between now and, I don't know what we budgeted for collections, but that 100,000 would fall right to the, I'm going to call it the bottom line, even though we probably don't have it. So, I mean, personally, it's important that we keep pushing to collect as much as we can. Okay. Any more questions or comments on receivables? Or Mike, have you covered everything you want to cover?
Yep, unless there's questions.
Okay, so we'll have this on the agenda in 3 months, get an update. Okay,
Speaking of ambulance billing, I think Russ County uses the same company that we use for their billing.
okay. All right. Is it okay to move on to the sales tax collection, which kind of shows we're holding our own? Any comments on that, Mike?
No, I don't know. Diane's online. I don't know if she wants to
Right.
add anything.
Diana, do you want to add anything to the sales tax?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. No, thank you. All right. Any other items for the good of the cause? Roy, anything?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to have some language available for next week's county board meeting if there is a motion to go forward with one of the options, just in case the city council approves our request. That would satisfy what you're talking about as far as including the financing package with the option. Okay? It's for discussion only.
All right, now, I missed the first part about the language.
The language that you may want to instill into the motion to pull it all together. So I can visit with Tom or
All right, okay,
you or Ron later about.
right. Well, I guess Mike and Tom have been through this more than me. So they'd probably be the best drafters of it, because I could help.
Yeah, I think it would be optimistic to have any action like that for our board meeting Thursday, depending on obviously what the city does. This is going to be the first time that they discuss this issue. So, if they make a decision, great. If they take a month or two to think about it, it may come to that as well. But I did have a meeting with our corp counsel and their city attorney and public works director yesterday where we discussed this potential swap and what's being proposed. They do have our most recent packet that lists the option for the Fifth Street building site, and so they'll be looking at that as well, and know that what we're contemplating if that goes through. But then if they do want to go in that direction, then we would have to get the attorneys together again to work out the swap and all the details in that. There's, the issue of the water main below Fifth Street. They're having a study done on the water flow, if they need to reroute that or not. So, there's some issues that will need to be contemplated and thought about and documented. So, it's not going to be just Thursday night, we're good to go,
Right.
boom, boom.
But could we be working in the interim on the proposed resolution for the board, assuming, making the assumptions, at least on the debt side, it would at least be a max up, I think, wouldn't it? And then a max up dollar amount and a max interest rate.
I would say at this point, if we're gonna have a financial advisor soon, that we get them on board, talk through this and kind of let them drive the timing and how to go forward with this. I mean,
Okay.
that's what they do.
Right, but time is of the essence, so we can't just, wait until in December, we're still talking about this. I hope not.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I bring it up.
Good. Any more items for discussion? Charlie, you're okay?
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
All right, well, the meeting's adjourned then.
Have a good one, everybody.